You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hockey is back officially. I feel like I've said that for the last 3 weeks on this show, but it's officially back for real now. We've had the regular season get underway. Hello, everybody, and welcome into RBR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker, and alongside me, it's Joe Zamataro. It's Matt Gannon. Guys, welcome back to the show. We got a great show today. We're talking about regular season hockey games. We're going to be previewing next week as well, and we got the RBLR 3 Stars of the Week segment back for the first time in what feels like it's been forever. But first and foremost, guys, how you doing today?
You know, I think I said this last podcast or maybe the one before that I love October. I mean, right now we've got high 60s for weather. The weather's starting to change. Football's in full swing, and hockey season is back. So I'm doing pretty well. How you doing, Matt?
I love October too. It's spooky season, and I can't be the only one scared about what's to come in this podcast.
What a depressing segue, Matt. I mean, let's keep the positive vibes rolling for now. Before we get into it, although I do want to remind our viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe right here on YouTube so you don't miss out on future episodes, or you can go check out any of the old episodes we have streaming on any platform that you get your podcast. And you can follow us on social media as well at RBLR Sports or at RBLR Lightning for your Lightning specific podcast content. All right, so Matt, you mentioned it. It wasn't an ideal start to the regular season, but it's only 3 games, and we'll break it down and we'll take a look at it for you guys. Starting off with some injury news, though, Tyler Motte, after the first game, suffered I believe it's a hand injury. I don't think they disclosed exactly what it is, but he is out indefinitely right now, which is unfortunate. It sounded like it was going to be day-to-day, but then the news came out that he is out indefinitely. So 2 of the guys that the Lightning went out and signed in the offseason that were supposed to be part of that bottom 6 in Tyler Motte and Logan Brown, now both out indefinitely. And we're focusing on the crunch a lot more than I think some people thought we were going to be after making all those offseason moves, which is a little unfortunate for the Lightning. Let me ask you this, guys. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about these? Obviously, we have the Vasilevsky injury, which is the biggest one, but now with Logan Brown and Tyler Motte are out, does this concern you all when it comes to the bottom 6?
Yeah, a little bit. Put me at a solid 4. It's noteworthy, but it's not end of the world or anything. The Vasilevsky injury, we kind of swallowed that pill, a couple weeks ago. We've dealt with that and coped with it so far. Tyler Motte injury, that one does kind of sting. I really liked how he played in that first game. He was a guy, again, I've been really excited to see about how he plays. And I thought he looked really good in that first game for being a bottom 6, 4th line checker kind of guy. But I'm not too worried, but I mean, now that Stamkos missed a game, I don't think that's anything super serious either. It's a little concerning. It's noteworthy, but I'm not, it's not the end of the world quite yet.
And the nice thing coming out of camp and out of preseason is that we saw there's quite a few role players that we actually do have in the system. Obviously, already tapping, Watson came in, so did ABB. And while it wasn't the strongest games from the 2 of them last night, it still shows you that we've got people that, are familiar names. These aren't guys that Lightning, faithful haven't heard of before that we're using to fill the spots. And, the bottom 6, you need a role player anyway. So it's, we have a few guys like that. So those injuries aren't as concerning. Stamkos, I haven't heard exactly what his ended up being. But, I think that, we'll be fine with the other guys going down. Mott was looking pretty good, unfortunately, to have him hurt. But we got some depth. The bigger issues, I don't think, are on the forward side of the game.
And out indefinitely doesn't mean out for the season. It just means that there's no current timetable. So maybe, hopefully, he comes back a little bit sooner than expected, because it did sound like it was going to be more of a short-term thing, and then it kind of turned in a little bit longer term. You're right about Stamkos.
I'm guessing he broke his finger or something like that, broke his hand, because that's a
That
shot
was
that he
the
blocked with
rumor.
his hand.
And of course, as we know in hockey, they just don't tell you anything when it comes to injuries. And same thing with Stamkos. We don't know. Stamkos was a weird one because he got hurt in the game, and then he came out, and then he came back in, and then he didn't play the next night. So I'm hoping that was just a precautionary thing because it was a back-to-back. Hopefully, we'll get more updates relatively soon. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's anything serious. That's the last thing the Lightning need to deal with right now in losing a guy like Steven Stamkos. But let's keep the positive vibes rolling with the first game of the season for the Lightning, opening night against the Nashville Predators. And guys, dare I say, this was like that ideal game that every fan loves to see. That's like, it was just a fun hockey game. The Lightning go on to win this one 5-3, and you had a little bit of everything. You had some defense, you had some offense, you had a penalty shot, which you never see, and even with the penalty shot, you had a penalty shot goal, which is even more rare. So just a really fun game. I mean, not as fun for Nashville Predators fans because they ended up losing the game, but back and forth, high-powered offenses, and the Lightning come out on top on this one. Joe, what were your thoughts going through this game?
I mean, this is a great way to start off the NHL season. The first game for all the teams was the Tampa Bay Lightning, and although it was at kind of a strange time, being was it 5:30 that they dropped the puck, all the energy and excitement was there. The house was rocking, and like you said, I mean, this game had everything. And to think that it was tied, let's see how much time was left. It was tied, basically halfway through the third. Even if you are a Nashville fan and your team came up a little bit short, that's still a fun back and forth that the guys had. So I was thrilled to see hockey officially kick off for this one. It was definitely great to see some of our guys that got goals, like Nick Paul. I mean, he was a monster out there, and I've been tooting his horn more and more as as he's played more and more games for the Bolts. I mean, what more can I say than this one was a really fun one? Great to get the start off the season with a win.
Yeah, I'll definitely be redundant saying that the energy was there throughout, both the teams and especially in the building. It was a rocking building to get started, throughout the whole game, actually. It was, like everybody's sharing the same emotions. Everybody's just so happy that hockey is back. Even though it was a weird start time, who cares? Hockey is back. And yeah, it did have a little bit of everything. The only thing that it didn't have was a rematch between Jeannot and Shen. But I won't make a big deal out of that. It had pretty much everything. The Brandon Hagel penalty shot, by the way, that puts him he's in a group of 7 now. He's the 7th player to ever score a penalty shot in a season opener. It's kind of a niche stat, but it's still a stat that Brandon Hagel has. No, it was definitely a terrific game all around. Kind of thematic for the Lightning, letting up in the second period and, having trouble with the long change and getting caught in their own zone. We saw a lot of that last year, but still a very, close but not nail-biter game, but very exciting down to the finish.
That second period was a little bit concerning. I remember watching that thinking, oh no, here we go again. This is not going to be good. But they came through. They came back in the third period and held it down, and it wasn't the worst thing. I do have to applaud the NHL, by the way, because puck drop was set at 5:30, and they actually dropped the puck at like 5:32. So round of applause to the NHL right there for getting that done. Now they failed miserably on the next 2 games right after that. So, but we at least had a positive sign that they actually got puck drop done when it was supposed to be.
And it was a nationally broadcasted game too, which is even, crazier. So no, you're definitely right. Credit where it's due.
And I have another stat to throw out here. I would have guessed this one wrong if you quizzed me. For home openers, the Lightning's record, I was going to guess that the Lightning had a losing record. For some reason, I felt like they did not do well traditionally in home openers. They're actually 15-4-2. So they like to start the season. Maybe it's the banner years that they end up dropping them when there's something to hang in the rafters. But
well,
it
you know
feels
what
like
it might be, Joe? The last couple of season openers haven't Lightning. They didn't. Or did you look up home openers or season openers?
Home. Home
Home
openers.
openers. Okay. Because the one that comes to mind, I mean, they lost last year to the Rangers. That was not at home, though. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins game where they did raise a banner and got, I think it was like 7-2 or something. I think that's maybe a little bit of recency bias that plays into that factor. But hey, that's a pretty good record
Wait,
at home to start the season.
What was the record? 15-4-2.
Actually 16-4-2. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even still, that math doesn't quite add up, though. Hasn't this team? Is this just an Amalie Arena? Because hasn't this team been around for 30 years?
Over 30 years now.
31.
This is 31. 30th anniversary was.
Yeah.
was
Let's see.
last
Yeah,
year.
it's a good point. I'm pulling this off of an article that was written. So I didn't stack check it. I just did a quick Google search to see what came up. But at any rate, it's still a.
Either way, it's a great record.
Yeah, don't
good
dig
home
too deep
record.
into it.
for now. But yeah, a good start for the Lightning. You had a little bit of worry in that second period. Johansson, I thought, looked pretty good in that first game. You know, especially again, you know, it's hard when you compare a guy to Vasilevsky. But for a guy who was thrust into the backup role, Johansson held his own. I don't think there was like one goal maybe that he would really want back that wasn't great. What were your guys' thoughts on Johansson on that opening night?
Fine. You know, not spectacular, not awful. You know, really nothing to write home about. Just fine. You
That's
know,
a perfect descriptor.
and I guess it kind of can carry over to the next two games, which we'll get into. But the goaltending was just fine.
Which, I mean, to be fair, is kind of what you're hoping for, which sounds bad to say, but, you know, when you have Vasilevsky, it's like, hey, fine is kind of good in this situation. But Johansson was fine, and the Lightning get a big win. They move to 1-0 on the season, and then they immediately have 3 days off. And we had a little bit of another drought of hockey, which is crazy. But then they would move on to take on the Detroit Red Wings. And every time the Lightning play at Joe Louis Arena, it's always something weird. It's an 8-7 game. It's a bunch of weird bounces. It's guys getting hurt. It's the goaltender making an unbelievable amount of saves and somehow only letting up one goal on 67 shots. It's always something weird in this arena. And again, it was another one of those games for the Lightning. They lose this one by a final score of 6-4. You had a couple of back and forth moments. The Lightning took the lead at one point, then Detroit took a lead. It's tied back up. Just crazy back and forth, lots of goal scoring. But the Lightning defense can't hold it down. They had a lot of odd man rushes that they gave up in this game, and they ultimately lose this one. Matt, I'll start with you this time. Your thoughts while watching the Detroit game?
Well, it's definitely weird games at Joe Louis Arena, especially in 2023, because they don't play there anymore.
That is absolutely true.
Both you guys are -1 today. No, I didn't get to watch much of this game at all. I was actually on my way and at a wedding. I turned the radio broadcast on while I was on the way. And that first period sounded pretty rough. Like Michigan was getting pretty angry. He was like, it's hard for Michigan to get angry. Phil wasn't there. I think it was Kobe doing the color commentary with him. No, he was doing it by himself. But Mich was getting pretty angry. He was saying unforced turnovers, a lot of errors that were just unnecessary. And that's kind of what I got. I did end up, stick with me here. I brought my phone out. We were doing the dinner at the wedding and stuff, and I just kind of put it on my glass there, just had it leaned up. Everybody was doing the speeches, best man and all that. I got called out. I saw it was the late hit on Hagel. I think it was by Justin Hall, and I kind of like threw my arms up very slightly. And the best man, he called me out. He said, "What's the score?" I said, "It's not good." So it was
that's
really
true fandom right there.
Yeah, it was really funny. I credit to him for not calling me an iPad baby or something, but it was really funny how that all happened. But no, I didn't get to watch most of this game. Only got to see bits and pieces of it. But from what I saw, it was pretty rough. And from what I heard, the third period, it was a late strong push, kind of. Also thematic for the Lightning is, kind of meander your way through the first and second period. And as time dwindles down, they really start to put it on. Am I in the ballpark here, Joe?
Joe's -2 now as he's dealing with some mic issues. we're struggling out here.
Yeah. Hey, it's the first podcast of the season. We'll go with that. I'd say that they did push back a bit. However, they just kind of got manhandled all game. They really had a physical presence for the Red Wings. And, I was really honestly hoping to see Jeannot go out there and try setting some people straight, but that's not something that we got. Uh, you know, the there was a play that, correct me if I'm wrong, is Isamont decided to do like a front flip over the boards into the bench for the Red Wings. And of course, that just sent Little Caesars Arena just, absolutely screaming. And seems like there's a bunch of big hits that completely energized the Red Wings, and the Lightning just didn't really respond well to it. They bounced back, got within one after being down by two with a really nice shot by Hedman. But I just felt like the guys were a little bit disconnected, disengaged in this one comparatively. And then Stamkos gets hurt, of course. There was a period where Kuch went into the hallway. Who else ended up going back there?
There were a couple of guys.
Hagel.
Yeah. Hagel went back. A few guys went into the hallway behind the bench. And like I said, the best way I'd put it, they just got kind of manhandled.
I do want to mention Brendan Hagel's goal in this game because it was a breakaway goal. Hagel has 2 goals on the season, and both of them have been all alone on. One was a penalty shot, one was an actual breakaway. But what are the odds of that? Hagel 2 goals and both on a breakaway. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, and going to the goal, Manson was in this game as well, and I didn't put too much blame on him. Because I felt like the defense kind of left him out to dry quite a few times in this game. I mean, there were a lot of odd man rushes, and like Hedman had a nice shot to score a goal in this game, but it just seems like the defense isn't clicking. And now, to be fair, it's not just the defense because the offense has to play defense too, and the whole team as a whole, like you were saying, Joe, just didn't seem like they were on the same page that night. But it was a struggle, and you had some of the newer guys stepping up for this. The Lightning went with 11-7 in this one. Zach Bogosian was, and that's weird, right? You think 11-7, they might have a little bit of advantage defensively, but that was not the case. It was a high scoring, fast game, and the Lightning go down, they lose it, but you're sitting there saying it's only game 2. The Lightning are 1-1 on the season. Maybe you bounce back in the second half of the back-to-back. I didn't really, unfortunately, work out that way for the Lightning as they fall to the Ottawa Senators by a final score of 5-2 in this one. Matthew Joseph apparently loves to play against the Tampa Bay Lightning as he scores a goal in this one. He almost had a second one, too, that he wrung off the post. Cirelli and Jeannot do score for the Lightning, but I felt like this one was very heavily in the Senators' favor. Joe, I see you laughing over there. What do you got?
I was just curious. I pulled up Matthew Joseph's stats for last season. He has 3 goals for all of last season in the 56 games that he played. And, of course, one of those was the shorthanded goal that he scored against the Lightning. And this season he has... Yeah,
and shorthanded goal still haunts me.
And, the Lightning won the game, but...
It still haunts me.
And this season he's got 2 goals. Again, one of them being against the Lightning. So, yeah, statistically speaking, he must love playing the Bolts.
This game, I don't know if I picked the wrong game to skip, but this one was definitely frustrating. And when I said that the goalies were just fine, I actually do think Tomkins played a really good game. He did let in...
I thought he did too.
He was very fine, especially for his first NHL start. Honestly, congratulations to him, but... He let in, 2 kind of soft goals. I'm really not going to, put much or any of the blame on him. It was, from what I can tell, a bit of a carbon copy of the Detroit game. No defense, hung out to dry, and it was not anemic. There was definitely some pressure here and there, but no consistent pressure from what I saw. It was... I don't even know how to put it. Just a lack of enthusiasm, it kind of seemed like. The Senators were definitely imposing their will. Maybe not... I forget what you called it, Joe. Not a manhandling, but they were flying. They were fast, and I'm very high on the Senators team. In the outline I wrote, I said I think they're going to be a good team this year, and they definitely showed out with guys like Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle. He made his presence known on the ice as well, And I honestly do think, too, that the Lightning got away with a couple penalties there as well. It was just a sloppy game. I guess that's the way I can put it, is just sloppy. And the one thing that, after watching 1.5 and 1.25 games before the Senators game, it took me to realize there are a lot of new faces here, a lot of new faces, more than we've seen in the last, 5, 6, 7 years. There's going to be an adjustment period. These guys have not all played with each other. They're in a brand new system under brand new coaches on a brand new team. It's going to take some time for them to gel. It's going to take some time for them to, meet and mesh with their line mates. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I just wish it didn't come at the expense of 2 losses against divisional opponents. That's kind of my biggest issue, is that they had to do it against divisional opponents. And the Atlantic Division is going to be, it's going to be the toughest division to get a wild card, to get a playoff spot in this year. Everybody's going to be chasing that 1, 2, 3 and wild card spot. I just wish we could have put up a better effort against our own divisional teams.
Yeah, and the divisional games are huge as well too, because as you mentioned, Matt, there's a lot of new divisional teams that look a lot better than they did last year, and these games could be important going down the stretch.
Yeah, and the Senators got better. They definitely got better. Anytime you add a Tarasenko to your team, you're gonna be controlling the puck that much more. Brady Tkachuk has been a thorn since he's entered the league, just for anybody that he's playing against. This I don't know if this is kind of like a carry through from the game before, but they definitely looked slower than the Senators. I think this was the Senators' second game on the season, so they had more rest, and maybe it was just having a back-to-back where they definitely looked slow. There's a lot of defensive issues that I saw, missed coverages, things where like Perbix mishandled the puck, which is relatively rare. He's usually so good with making sure he makes a nice, crisp play. There was a play that it was Dahan and Chernak on I think it was like the second goal, where both of them just completely lost. Actually, no, it was the first goal. Both of them completely lost sight of
Tarasenko.
Well, Tarasenko came flying in. It was
Tkachuk?
No, it was Grieg. Who's got the first assist. So it was him who went to the front of the net, and they missed him, and the puck bounced out to the side. But it was also a blown play by ABB to be able to cover Tarasenko, because ABB was just standing by himself out there. So there's a lot of these like little missed plays, missed coverages, which will tighten up as the season goes on. The unfortunate thing is that you don't have Vasilevsky back there to bail you out. So for this game, they allowed, 38 shots on goal. You can't do that with a guy that hasn't played. But has Tomkins played in the NHL? NHL game before? This is his first one. Yeah, you can't let a guy like that, see 38 shots. Actually, even Radish allowed Tkachuk to turn the corner on him, go one-on-one. So I think defensively it was a pretty bad game for him. And hopefully something that the guys can just kind of, put behind them and keep pushing forward, because I know this isn't quite the start that they want to have to the season.
Do you guys think that these Johansson and Tomkins are kind of like, man, this is what Vazzy has to deal with on a nightly basis? Like, I kind of understand why this guy's the best in the world.
Well, and it shouldn't be that way, right? I mean, no. You've got, Hedman's obviously a Hedman. He's amazing when it comes to his ability to just get his stick in a lane and come up with a poke check that, no one would think that he'd be able to make with his athleticism. Sergachev, to me, looks pretty off. He just doesn't look like he's making as fast of decisions as he has in the past, and has almost been a little bit of a liability at times. Chernak, or Perbix making that bad play. These are things that can get cleaned up. So hopefully, both Tomkins and Johansson don't get left out to dry too much more before they get their stuff together.
Yeah, the things that I picked up from the previous 2 games, and even parts of the Nashville game, and it's going to happen with any team everywhere, but it's unforced errors. That's really kind of the biggest takeaway. They did kind of shoot themselves in the foot in a lot of these cases where they could have made smarter, wiser, simpler plays. The Perbix one, that really does stick out to me. It seems like he's kind of had a rough go throughout all three of these games. He hasn't really stuck out to me like he did throughout 95% of last season, where he looked like, not like a phenom or anything, but looked like he belonged. He has kind of stuck out in the wrong way for me, and that play wasn't necessary. Again, unforced errors, unnecessary mistakes. You're right, Joe. These are all things that can be cleaned up. And, just let them get back into the groove of things. I'm not, nobody's ready to hit the panic button, at least not me. But it's going to take some time to adjust and fix these mistakes.
And it's kind of funny. I feel like anytime that you get the start of the season, you get a lot of blowouts. You get a lot of really high-scoring games. And that's because offensive wizardry kind of takes precedence over structural play. And, guys like, Austin Matthews ends up having a hat trick in his first night. Who was someone for Vancouver got 4 goals.
Besser.
Yeah, Besser got 4 goals in his season opener. So hopefully this is just a kind of a case of that.
And they talked about this on Power Lunch with Greg Linnelli and Dave Bishkin that, saying these early games can sometimes be outliers because teams are trying to get their feet under them. Now, you can't just take every game lightly and throw away like it's nothing, because sometimes these points can make or break the difference for you at the end of the season if you're one of those teams that's sitting in there for a wild card spot, or it could be the difference between a wild card spot and a divisional spot. But, to be fair to the Lightning, again, this is not the reason that they lost these games, but the schedule definitely wasn't favorable to them. It didn't help by any means.
It's not getting better either.
Of course not. I mean, it's just the way it's been going for the Lightning. But defense is definitely the number one issue in the number one. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season after losing Andrei Vasilevsky that the defense was the major concern and not goaltending, I don't know if I would have believed you. But the goaltending has proved to be, I don't want to say amazing by any stretch of the means, but good. Like what you expected, or at least better than what maybe some people expected. And Matt, people are hitting the panic button. That's kind of what this fan base does a little bit sometimes, but we're here to tell you, don't worry, don't hit the panic button just yet. It is only game 3. Now, if they continue to do this down the road, that becomes another story. But as of right now, 3 games in the season.
Well, yeah. And to Matt's point, Glendening, Merrill, Motte, Sherry, DeHaan, and let me switch over. Did I mention
Watson?
Yeah, Watson, and who am I missing?
Technically, both the new goaltenders. I think you're going for a offense or skaters wise, but
yeah. So I mean, those are all new faces that are playing within the system, and defense is a team thing. It's not just up to the defenseman.
Right.
Quite a few of the goals are completely the defenseman's fault. Like we called out the Perbix one, and then the other one that it was
Chernak and DeHaan.
Tarasenko. Yeah. But I mean, it's a team defense too, and with all these new faces figuring each other out, it's a lot of work to get the system running.
Yeah,
and I like that you said that these games might be outliers too, because it's definitely not an apples to apples example. But the Oilers, I mean, they've been outscored 12-3 in their first 2 games. Nick Paul has more goals and points than McDavid right now. Like it's definitely nobody's surprised about that, especially not me. But it's overreaction season. It definitely is. Everybody likes to overreact at the start of the season. It's not no big deal, but it's not the end of the world either. Again, I'm hoping it's outliers, but like you said, Joe, the schedule does not get any easier. We've got some tough opponents coming up.
Well, I mean, and just the frequency is insane. To have a game on Saturday, for a couple nights ago, last night, there's a game on Tuesday, there's a game on Thursday, then there's another game on Saturday again. That's a whole lot of hockey, all right back to back to back. There's not a lot of rest for the guys.
Big shout out to the NHL scheduling for giving us 3 days off and then throwing us into the fire on a back-to-back and then all these consistent games. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm not an NHL scheduler, to be fair. Despite the struggles overall in these 3 games, we did have some players stand out, and it's time to bring back the RBLR 3 stars of the week. I'll give you guys our stars. We'll start with number 3, and we'll work our way up, and I'll let you guys jump into and give me some thoughts on these players. So starting off with the number 3 star, it is Anthony Cirelli, who had 1 goal and 2 assists over 1 goal, 1 assist over his 3 games. Cirelli doing what he does best, and that great two-way forward mentality. Joe, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Cirelli?
Cirelli looked like he, definitely came to play these 3 games. He ends up with, I think he's even for his plus minus. Yeah, he's even for his plus minus. Where there's a lot of goals that were scored, and that when he's got hard assignments and you're still contributing with a goal and an assist in the course of your play, he's doing really well. So I'm glad to see him up there.
Jake, do you remember our last show when we were kind of doing predictions about award winners?
I
Now
do.
that there's no Bergeron in the league, I'm predicting a Selke season for Tony Cirelli. It didn't cross my mind when we were doing that segment last show, but I'm predicting it. He like Joe said, he came to play. He picked up right where he left off in the playoffs. I'd pencil him in as probably the best, or at least top 3 players in that short 6-game series. Against the Maple Leafs, he was on fire, and it seems like he's kind of got, a burr in his saddle this year. He really wants to, be that, permanent second line center. He's going to be an energy guy. Like, we already know what he is, but I can only see him growing. Like, this is a dude that, how much more can any of us say about him? But I still see a lot more room for him to grow. And that goal he scored against Ottawa, that was a nice goal. It wasn't just Tony Cirelli making the whole thing happen, but he was the finisher on it, and it was a beautiful goal. Alas and a loss, still a beautiful goal.
The key will be consistency for him, and it's a good start. So Anthony Cirelli gets the 3rd star of the week. Going to the 2nd star of the week, it's a guy who only played 2 games this week, but he is one of the best captains, if not the best captain in the NHL, and that is Steven Stamkos, who had 2 goals and 2 assists. He played a solid first game, really showed out in the second game against Detroit, getting that offense rolling. Matt, I'll start with you. What did you see from the captain?
Honestly, from the eye test, I wasn't like over the moon about Stamkos. But when Joe definitely persuaded my opinion on it, like when the stats don't lie, it really don't lie. But the second game against the Red Wings, he looked great. The first game, his sights were kind of off. He wasn't, he kind of, slow out of the gate. The skating wasn't there. I'm just happy he wasn't doing any backhand passes in either of these games. God help us all. But no, he looked fine. But the first game was a little shaky, but he really tightened things up towards the end of that. And that goal he scored, I know I'm kind of only mentioning goals here. That's kind of cheap. But man, that goal he scored against Detroit, ping! Oh, it was beautiful. I think he's dialed in. I think he's ready to make Julien Brisebois pay for not paying.
Contract year, Stamkos coming out.
I was to say those were 2 of the most Stamkos style goals you could possibly see. A one-timer from his office, and then another one where he's flying down the right wing, a la that Cup game against Dallas. He, they keep saying that he's missing a step, or that he's gonna age out, but he still puts up the points. I mean, 4 points in, I was gonna say 2 games, really like I guess he got it full time against Detroit.
Say 1 3/4. It sounds better.
Yeah, in 1 3/4. Yeah, he's putting up the numbers. That's what you expect out of him. I mean, that's what he's good for, is the offensive side. And when he's delivering on those fronts, then what more could you ask for out of the captain? And we'll see what happens with negotiations. But hopefully, makes it has a great season and makes it really difficult for JBB.
Makes it really difficult, but he's able to make it not too difficult enough to where he can still keep him. Steven Stamkos was great, and it's he had a great start last year to the season as well. Just hope he go back to consistency, right? Keep it through all the way to the season. That's the hope for all your guys. But he is a well-deserved 2nd star of the week. And then for the 1st star of the week, it's my guy, the one and only Brandon Hagel, 2 goals and 1 assist. As I mentioned, those 2 goals, which were breakaway goals as well, even mixing in a penalty shot in there as well. Brandon Hagel, I would go out to say, Matt might disagree with me on this, but he is one of the best trades that I think the Lightning have had in quite some time. I mean, he has been fantastic for the Lightning for a while now.
Why would I disagree with that?
Well, I thought you were going to say the Nick Paul trade was better.
They're both pretty good. I think, the Hagel trade is paying more off for Chicago with Taylor Radish. He had a really good year last year, but who cares? Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul are both terrific players. I mean, there again, not a whole lot more we can say. I feel like we said a lot already about Brandon Hagel, but he was probably throughout. Actually, no, not probably. Of course, throughout all three of these games, he was the best player. He was the one that stuck out the most, and to no surprise, of course, he's our first star. Of course, he was the best player throughout all three of these games, and he's been taking kind of a beating. Like he had some hard hits in that Detroit game, even in the Nashville game, he took a little bit of a beating.
In the back.
Oh yeah, that was I didn't like that hit. Again, that's what got me called out at the wedding. But dude, he like Tony Cirelli just picked up right where he left off. He's a buzzsaw. He's everywhere. He's honestly been the most noticeable player on the ice. He's been responsible, and man, two wicked goals to cap off and get him to that first star spot.
And I love that he's a shooter on those breakaways. I mean, it takes a lot of confidence to be able to go down and rip a shot on a goalie rather than throwing a head fake and making a big move. And I think that kind of goes further when you think about the confidence that he'll bring into future games with shooting. It's a huge psychological advantage when you've got some confidence and you're firing that puck, and he's definitely got it right now.
Where does he rank on wrist shots? Like just wrist shot power. Where does he rank on this team? Because I think he's got a very underrated shot. Like I don't know if I just hadn't noticed it or he's kind of developed it since he's been with the Lightning, but he's got a really nice shot.
Something I'd have to analyze. I don't think I've really looked at his because he doesn't end up using his shot too often compared to guys like say Kucherov. He's more get the puck down there and then he gets opportunities to take snipes.
Oh, that penalty shot alone for me puts him up there high. I mean, that was a beautiful little snapshot that he took, and he's got great offensive power. And it's funny to think when he first came over and was struggling, into the postseason as well, and then all of a sudden he got comfortable, and he hasn't looked back so far, and he earns the first star of the week here for RBLR. So let us know in the comments at RBLR Sports or right here on YouTube. What do you guys think of our 3 stars? Do you agree with them? Would you change up the order? Are there other players that we maybe have missed? I think we should give a shout out to Nick Paul as well. He played a good first game, a little bit rough on the plus and minus side of things. But these guys, they were looking like superstars. And the best part is, if you guys want to look like a superstar too, you can by heading over to shop.rblrsports.com. Links, as always, are in the description. And you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order of some awesome team-inspired merch. Rays, Lightning, Rowdies, Bucks, you name it. Be sure to go over there to shop.rblrsports.com and check it out. Again, links, as always, are in the description. So, all right, we've talked about the 3 stars, recap some of the games. I want to bring up 2 quick topics to ask you guys about, and we kind of lightly hinted them a little bit. So starting with the goaltenders. Now, we've only had 3 games played. We've only seen Tomkins once and Johansson twice. But all things considered, I want to get your guys' opinion on the goaltending situation overall. Are you still, because I remember what we did before the season started, are you still concerned about the potential goaltending situation? Do you feel a little bit better? Give me your overall thoughts on our goaltenders so far without Andrei Vasilevskiy. Joe, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think it's you're not going to have a goaltender there that's going to steal you a game, and that's something that we really have taken for granted having Vasi, where the guys will have an off night and then still come away with the victory because Vasi will just stand on his head. He didn't get as many shutouts as he should have last season. And that was because of, really late game goals that would upset it. But he definitely would carry play. These guys, you're just hoping for them to give you a chance. And that's about the most I think that, you're going to get out of them. A .88, let's call it a .89 save percentage and a .89 save percentage. So they're both being fairly consistent when it comes to what they're seeing, what they're allowing in. The biggest thing is going to be what our defense can do for them. If our defense gives them a hard night, the Lightning are in for a rough game. But if the defense can actually allow them to see their shots, I think both of them have more than enough skill to make the saves they're supposed to make.
Yeah, it's hard for me to really give a valid assessment on either of them. We've only seen 2-1 games from both of them. It's, again, they were kind of shaky. They're both below 900 save percentage so far, but the games weren't. It's not fair for me to criticize, especially any of these players that play this beautiful game of hockey, but especially goaltenders. It's hard for me to criticize them, and I'm not going to. I am fairly comfortable. I'm not super worried. It really does come down to the defense. From what we saw out of 2.5 games, that's kind of the most worrying part. But I can find solace in knowing that these are fixable issues, like we were going on about earlier. These are fixable issues. We can mend this fence and cross this bridge. We can get past it if all these guys buy in. Hopefully the goaltending can, be better than, league average, but definitely better than sub 900. But I don't think we're in a position to criticize just yet, but it is still a little bit concerning. I liked what I saw from Tomkins. Again, both of them were just fine. Couple of weak goals on both of them, but nothing that making me pull my hair out or anything quite yet. Again, I hate blaming it on the defense, but I am when you're allowing close to 40 shots a game, stuff like that's going to happen.
As you guys know, I was very high on both the goaltenders after the preseason, and I think maybe I still am a little bit. I've come down just a tad, but again, as you mentioned, Matt, it was defense. Joe, as you kind of said, Vasilevsky, if he's in net, maybe it's a 2-1 record that we're coming back with talking about today because he maybe steals one of those games. But for these guys, it's 1-2. But I see a lot of potential, and as they get more comfortable and this defense improves, I think the Lightning can be in a decent spot overall. Speaking of that defense, and again, we kind of mentioned this during the game recaps, and it's only 3 games into the season. There's a lot of new guys down here, but it's definitely, I think, the number one issue for the Lightning right now. How concerned are you guys about this defense? And is it just a chemistry thing that they need to do?
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm not really that concerned at all. Mostly because it's so early and there's, new guys stepping into different roles with it. Defense isn't just about the defensemen. So I think it's something that the team will start putting together. The system will start getting tighter. The responsibilities and handing off different assignments will start to become more smooth. And with that, you'll see it all tighten up, and fewer shots and opportunities for the opposition will result. But it's something that it's going to take a little bit of time, obviously, for them to get that sort of chemistry together. But I think that they will. They've got a good core in order to lead them into it.
And early in the season, John Cooper, he pulls the blender out where it's, the first, first half of the season, it's testing out line combinations and defense pairings. We're going to see what works and what sticks. So everything is fixable. Hopefully everything is fixable. If we're having the same conversation next week, then I'll definitely be concerned. But as of right now, it's just kind of a yellow flag. Next week, I hope it's a green flag.
To be fair, it might be a few weeks for them to actually pull it all together. And with how busy the schedule is, it means that they're going to get fewer practice sessions compared to having several nights off in a row. So I mean, it might be something that we see for a little bit.
But also trial by fire. Playing the real games instead of just practice. It might. I don't know. I'm not saying it might make them better, but playing the real game versus practice and line rushes, it's different. It might help them. Sure. It might hurt them. Who knows? Time will tell.
Yellow flag. That's a great way to put it. There's a little yellow flag right now. It's not a red flag yet, but it's just a little yellow flag. Something to keep your eye on moving forward. Speaking of John Cooper, by the way, I almost forgot to mention he coached in his 800th game, which congratulations to John Cooper, guy who has come on and taken the NHL by storm. How he doesn't have a Jack Adams award, I don't know, and I couldn't tell you why. Maybe he's got a chance this year, though, with Vasilevsky out for the first 2 months. But congratulations to John Cooper on 800 games coached. Unfortunately, didn't get the record of most wins within 800 games. It would have passed, was it Scotty Bowman, I believe it was, he's at 841 wins, which ties Bowman, but still a congratulations to John Cooper for 800 games played.
Even being near that record is just, I'm speechless. Being near Scotty Bowman in any record book is something crazy. So honestly, congratulations to Cooper. Hopefully we have him for forever and ever. Amen.
Until he retires. That's what I'm hoping. And if he coaches long enough, he could break some records out there. So he's a fantastic coach. All right, let's look ahead for the Tampa Bay Lightning here. So coming up, as Joe mentioned, there's not a lot of off days this week. So Tuesday, they will have the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And this is a game that will be on ESPN. So another nationally broadcast game for the Lightning. Then it's a day off, and they're coming back home to take on the Vancouver Canucks at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on Saturday, it'll be the Toronto Maple Leafs again at Amalie Arena at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Maple Leafs have had a good start to their season. Austin Matthews is scoring goals by the handful right now. They still have a 2-0 start for Toronto. Looking at Buffalo, they've had an 0-2 start, but a very young, good potential team. Joe, when you look at the upcoming week for the Lightning, what are your thoughts?
When I look at the upcoming week, I have to gripe. I got to gripe a little bit. Why don't they have it color-coded as to who's going to be home and who's going to be away on the Lightning website? Everyone's just got a plain white. It doesn't show, who's where they're going to be. They used to have it where, if you're away, it was white background. If it was a home game, it was a blue background. Really easy to discern. Now I have to go to the list view and figure out which week we're in.
There is a differentiator. If you look, the home games have a black outline around them. The away games do not, which is so little and so hard. I think, Matt, didn't I say this on last week's episode? I think it was. But there is a the home games have a black outline and have the little ticket symbol. But yes, I agree with you. The blue and white/gray was so much better.
I rarely say this, but that's stupid. That's just stupid.
No, this.
So anyway, back over to back to what we're looking at. I know that Matt's probably tingling with his Tage sense coming up. It's always a good matchup against Buffalo in the sense that you never know what to expect from that guy, and he's definitely fun to watch. I mean, really, with this whole week, it's all kind of leading up to the Maple Leafs to see what they can do against such a strong team. That's the one I'll be looking forward to, a 7:00 game on Saturday, and man, it's also one I'll be kind of probably hold my breath while they play.
Yeah, it'll be tough sledding for these next 3 games. Again, I was not that I was expecting, but I predicted a 3-0 start. That didn't go all that well. But because they were, in my eyes, middle of the pack teams, all 3 of them. We've got some pretty good contenders. Vancouver is still kind of hard to get a beat on, even though they did demolish Edmonton twice in a row. They might just be catching lightning in a bottle right now. Hopefully the Lightning will be released from that bottle and impose their will in that game. But the Buffalo game is going to be one to watch. And, of course, the Maple Leafs game is going to be one to watch. That one might be bloody. I hope it is. I'm still definitely hurt from last year. But no, I'm not super excited about Tage Thompson. I have Dylan Cousins on my fantasy team this year, so he's going to be the guy that I'm flipping head over heels for this year. So you're going to be hearing all about Dylan Cousins. Hopefully I don't have anything good to say about him when we reconvene here next week.
It's a crazy schedule for the Lightning, but hopefully they can come away with a winning record. Let's just put it that way, at least 2-1. Well, you know what? No. If it's 1-2, but they beat Toronto, I'll be happy. Just beat Toronto on Saturday. That's all we ask for. But hopefully the Lightning come away with a winning record. That's going to do it for us on this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another week. Don't forget to follow us on social media at RBLR Sports or at RBLR Lightning so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe right here and share the video. We really appreciate it if you did enjoy it. So with that said, see you guys in the next one. Go Bolt!
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.